Hello, welcome to the Minimalist EDC. My name's Chris, and today we're going to do a collection video. So it's a little bit different for me. I usually just do knife content, reviews, unboxings, first impressions. But recently I hit 100 subscribers. Never really even expected to get that. I just kind of wanted to start a YouTube channel to get my thoughts out there and get them out of my head and maybe make some videos for people who found this type of stuff interesting. So imagine my surprise when 100 of you subscribed to my channel and joined up to see what I'm doing. So thank you very much. So that being said, if you're new here, like and subscribe definitely helps me grow this channel. So I'd appreciate that. And let's get started. So the first group of knives that I want to talk about are going to be the more budget arena of things. So I'll get them out here on the table and go through them one at a time. So as we go through this, some of the knives that will be in this video, I've got content up for unboxings, disassemblies, impressions, reviews. Some I haven't got to yet. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the budget world, but these are the ones that I have in my collection currently, and I'll tell you why. So this right here, this is the steel wheel cut jack. So this little guy, I think it was Best MDDC that did a $50 D2 review type situation, and this is one of the ones that he came across as he really enjoyed, so I picked one up. This is when I was getting into the EDC folder space, so this was definitely, it was like $25-30, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll see if I like it. There are problems with this. So like one of the things, I'm trying not to get into too much editorializing and review here, but like as you can see, like the jimping on this thing is completely non-functional. It's on the back of the flipper tab. When you actually want to use a flipper tab, you put your finger up here where there's no jimping, so like your finger just slides off. This is, you can't push button it, so just non-functional. And maybe I'll talk about this guy a little bit more later, but in a video when we talk more about budget things. But I like the guy. This one actually spends its time in my little go pouch that I keep in my vehicle. So this is kind of my, if I need a knife in my car and I don't have one in my pocket for whatever reason, this is a go-to. So it's comfortable. It's got a nice choke up, good D2 blade, all around little good folder. Recommend as a emergency knife, but no, I can't really recommend it as a everyday carry one. So let me switch these up a little bit and talk about these in the order that I kind of have them in my brain. So the next one here is going to be the Civivi Elementum. This is my first real EDC knife. This is the knife that I started seeing content for on YouTube and like, you know what, maybe there's something to this whole EDC thing and wanting to get involved and wanting to be part of the community. So I looked around. I already had this guy and I had another knife that I sold. I think it was a Civivi Brigand was the name of it, and I knew I wanted an Elementum, but they were sold out everywhere. I don't know if you remember that about a year ago or two years ago now. You just couldn't get them, and so I knew I really wanted an Elementum, and I wanted the one that I wanted. So the first one I got was actually like a gray G10 scale, which I dyed a navy blue, and I liked that well enough, but I really wanted this look of the rosewood. So I waited, and eventually Blade HQ, I believe, got these restocked, and I picked one up and then sold the other one. But this one doesn't make a whole lot of time in my pocket these days, but I still like it. I really, there's no reason why this couldn't be my everyday blade. It's certainly good enough. The D2 steel is fine. The ergonomics are fine. The carry is fine. It just doesn't have a lot of the little enthusiast things that make me excited about knives nowadays. So this one is more relegated to a comparison knife on the channel and just for me to flip and flick on the couch. The next one is a more recent acquisition. So I got this one maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And so this is the Kubi 321 Royale, I believe. And so I picked this one up. I think it was Neves Knives did a review of it, and I found it interesting. So like I said, I don't really delve too much into the budget world, but this one spoke to me because it had a few things going on in the budget space that you don't see very often. One of them being a hole deployment, which is like that. but also it has a front flipper. And so the front flipper, it's not the best, but you know, when you're in the $50-$60 knife space, you're not going to get the best, but it's fun, it's serviceable, and if you get the right angle on it, it's not hard to use. We're again in the D2 blade space, but we have a handle, which I appreciate the attention to detail. So it is G10, but it's got a texturing on it that looks like micarta. So they took a little bit of extra time to texture this to make it look nice. The lines on it I like, where we actually have like a kind of a geometric design for the thumb hole that is kind of mirrored in a way on the back. Just some things going on this knife that I really found intriguing. So I picked one up and I like it. I think I'm going to do some more content on this one in the future as far as knife modding goes. I don't particularly care for the drab color on this guy, so I got some RIT dye, so I want to dye the scales and see if that changes things up a little bit on it. And maybe even acid wash the blade. I've not done that before, but if you'd be interested in going with me on a journey to mod a knife and change the scales up, change the blade up, let me know in the comments. We may go on a journey together and I'll film the progress on it. Next one is going to be a QSP Penguin. So this guy right here, QSP is kind of took the D2 folder by storm, kind of the same way the Elementum did. Like everyone had an exclusive Penguin, everyone had a different colorway, but like in the end of the day, they're all cheap. Like this one, even with this, let's see, let me see it, like blue marble carbon fiber, I think it was only like $35-$40. It was really cheap. And I could have got the regular one for like $20. I'm pretty sure I picked this up on Black Friday of last year as a throw-in with another order to get some of the things that Blade HQ was doing as far as their Black Friday sale. But really good little folder, hard use. It's thick, like it's pry bar thick. There's no reason this couldn't be your EDC carry. It's going to do everything you want it to do. I really like the straight Warren Cliffy type blade shape. You can get on top of it. You can do draw cuts. You can do push cuts. It's comfortable. It's not winning any awards for its premium materials, but I think you can get premium versions of these now, like with S35VN and titanium handles, and they even have an XL version if you really wanted a big one of these guys. But really good knife. Highly recommend it for the price point that it's at. Next one is going to be the Civivi Appalachian Drifter 2. So the Appalachian Drifter originally was, I think, a backlock or a slip joint, maybe slip joint. Anyway, it didn't really appeal to me because I don't care for slip joints. But we got an upgrade, in my opinion, when they made the Appalachian Drifter 2. So it is a top flipper and it is a clip point. So we have kind of imitation of quality materials here. So you see like the carbon fiber bolster and the micarta scale. They are very thin. I've taken this apart and they kind of interlock together, but it looks nice. Like this is real carbon fiber. This is real micarta. They're just done in a cheaper manner than would be on a premium knife. I believe this is S30V. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this guy, and I don't really know where the blade marking is. I think it's S30V. I can check on that later. But for what you get out of this guy, a sub $100 knife, like a really good blade steel, a solid materials for the cost, steel liner, but if you like a top flipper like myself, like you're going to see later that a lot of the knives that I use on a daily basis and in my higher end stuff are top flippers, front flippers. I like that action. For me, it's one of the most reliable. I don't think you really do the knuckle on this thing, but like you can definitely get it to pop up like that. The last dedicated blade here is my old Boy Scout Swiss Army knife. Not much to say here. It is a Swiss Army knife. I've had it for years and years. My dad gave it to me in Boy Scouts. You can see the sharpening job that I did as a scout, like how bad that is. But it still sits in my desk. If I need to cut something while I'm sitting at my desk at work and don't have anything else near, this little guy will sometimes make an appearance because it'll still cut string and stuff. Last thing on the kind of the budget side is my multi-tool of choice. This is the SOG or SOG Power Pint, and it's just a good little all-purpose tool. The pliers are good. It has wire strippers. It has I'm not going to go through every tool in the handle, but like you have like a toothy blade, a straight blade, a couple different options for screwdrivers, and just little multi-tools. And it's small. Like this thing fits in my pocket. It's real easy to move around. It's it accompanies me on places where maybe a knife is not the most appropriate thing. Like I took this recently on a trip to Canada because they have some weird laws about folding knives, but multi-tools are okay. And all the things in here lock. So once you get a tool out, it is locked in place with a little back lock that you just push it and release it. So I like this guy a lot. They're only about $50. And personally, like I've had Leathermans and other Gerbers in the past, but this is my multi-tool of choice. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so we're back with these three knives are kind of the knives I would say. So you've decided to get out of budget, and all these knives are roughly about $100 to $130, and I think that they are great entry level knives into getting into premium materials without breaking the bank. So each of these kind of spoke to me for different reasons. So this one right here, this is the Kaiser Mini Bed Glider 2, I believe. And so let's take a look at it. We have a titanium scale, M390 blade, and it's not a milled pocket clip, but it is a titanium little spring clip thing. And it's got decent milling on the inside of the liners. So when you hear titanium M390, you start thinking about like high-end knives, right? But this one does it on a budget where the titanium isn't integrally part of the knife. I'm not talking about an integral knife, but like the titanium isn't part of the bolster lock or the frame lock or whatnot. It's just got titanium slabs right here, like with a frag pattern. And so this little guy, if you were looking for something like a Rockwall or I'm trying to think like what's another knife in that? Maybe the Quiet Carry Waypoint or something, like a little titanium folder, but didn't want to shell out $300. Like this is a really good option. It is excellent materials, excellent quality for what you're paying, and for $130, I don't think you can go wrong with this little guy. It is a workhorse in that small EDC titanium genre. Next one here is the Vosteed Bellamy, and so this one I found very interesting. It is a clip point. Again, we are in M390 in micarta. The micarta on this is really unique. I encourage you to go watch my other videos on this. It is a milled out and almost not polished, but like the grooves are smooth and the ridges are rough, and it's the way that they've milled this out is really interesting. It's very, very tactile. I like it a lot. As far as an action goes, like it drops shut. It is phenomenal. We end up with a flipper or top flipper, which it's useful, but like if you go back and watch my video, I'll go into this more. But the jimping is not the best, and so unless you're really, really pushing into it, you can just slip off the top. But the flipper tab is great. So that's the Vosteed Bellamy. I highly encourage you to check them out. This model is not being made anymore. I think that they are going to make another version of it at some point, but they're making some other neat things right now. Their Facebook group is really, really unique community, and encourage you to check out that up and coming maker, because again, M390 micarta, like you can't do that for that cheap very often. Like you don't find that cheap. Next one here is the Asher Douglas. So this one is a maker that I found on Instagram. I wasn't really familiar with their products, but Instagram recommended them. I started following them. They're putting out some interesting stuff that, like, a lot of their design philosophy and design aesthetics don't really match up with what I want, but when they came out with this, I'm like, yes, I want that. And so I think they have a titanium version of this as well, but this is micarta. And so I do have some other content on this. This micarta is like a smooth, almost like paper micarta feel. You end up with the thumb studs. You have the fuller, which doubles as a secondary deployment mechanism. You can do it that way. The thumb studs are just much more reliable. But yeah, this one I think a little over $100, 110, 115 maybe. But you got S35VN on the blade. Micarta handles. It's super light, super thin and slicey. Like, this thing is incredibly thin blade stock. So it's a monster slicer. And it's just a great little EDC knife. The maker also had some really unique touches where they offered different clips. So it originally had a clip that came out to here, but you could order a stubby clip, which I much prefer. It's still deep carry. You'll see that on a lot of my things. The deep carry is 100% the way to go. And yeah, so these have been the kind of the just above budget, but entry level into premium materials. But yeah, let's move on. Okay, so for the next group, I went with my Benchmates and Spydercos, because it seems like those always get talked about in the same conversation a lot of times. So we'll start over here with the 940s. This is the mini 940. I think it's a 940-5 or something like that. And this is the original Osborne 940. So both of these are really good knives for different reasons, though. So the 940 is one of my favorite knives in my collection. It doesn't get as much pocket time as other things, but the reason is this is a work knife. This is the knife that I take in the woods. This is the knife that I take when I'm working on my deck or other projects, or if I'm just working around the house. This is my go-to knife because it can do everything. The 940-5, or like the little one, I think that's the designation. It's a decent little fifth pocket knife. So this knife is probably not going to stay with me much longer. It just does not get time in the pocket. I don't find a use for this thing. And that's not a detriment to the knife. It's just I don't have a use for it that isn't filled by something else. It's clean. It's lightweight. It's pretty. I mean, it looks like it's Big Brother here. It's just, if I want a folding pry bar / good blade / do all tool, the 940 is where I'm going. And I love this thing. This thing is easily one of my favorite knives in my collection. But I like them for different reasons. And as you see, like the 940, I've got I think this is a Lynch clip versus what normally comes on it. Like, there's the stock clip on that guy. The next one here is going to be a Benchmade bug out. And so I've done quite a bit of modification on this guy. So we'll take a look at the front and back. So this is my first foray into doing modification on a knife, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. The knife itself is the stock Benchmade blade, but I have replaced the screws with the kind of the baby blue titanium screws. I replaced the lock bar with a titanium one. It came with a black, I think it was steel, and I've replaced the pocket clip with this blue anodized one. So it's very much this blue on titanium aesthetic. The only thing I'm missing for it, and I bought one, but it wasn't made correctly, so I'm still hunting, is a blue pivot. I'd settle for a titanium pivot, but I kind of like that to complete that blue pop of color right there. So this guy gets a decent amount of pocket time. It's a very versatile, very good everyday carry knife, and I much prefer it without the grivery handles. Like the weight differential in having titanium and grivery is negligible to me in my everyday life. So this is one I very much enjoy. The next one here is a Benchmade Mini Adonis, and so this one I like it a lot. But it does not get carried because this thing is a chunk. It's not that it's that heavy. It is heavier than most of the things I carry, but it's just a big boy. Like, it's solid. It's exceptionally well built. If I went camping more, this would definitely be the folder that I would take camping. In the crewwear blade, it is very, very good edge retention, easy to sharpen. Exceptionally well built. I can't say enough good things about this. It just doesn't fit my life and my style. So it's relegated to the collection and may not stay around for much longer. I may give this one up for some funds to buy something that I would carry more often. So getting out of the Benchmates and the Spydercos, I have a Para 3 and a PM2. The Para 3 is a S110V steel, and it has the Blurple scales. I got this off the secondary, and let's see if you can see here. The person before me sanded these scales, so they are nice and smooth. I'm neither here nor there on that. Like, I think I would probably have left them grippy if I bought this firsthand myself, but either way, it doesn't really affect the use of it, and I carry this quite a lot. I like the Spidey flick and the feel of this in the hand, and it's just a good, versatile, unique blade shape. So, like this guy a lot. It does get a lot of pocket time. Next is one that does not get a lot of pocket time. This is the PM2 and the Tonto. So, this is early in my collecting days. I thought the Tonto looked cool. I was like, I want to experience this, so I picked this up off the secondary. It came with the Flatanium scales with this anno on there. I do have the original scales that I've put on there, and I kind of do like this a lot, but it's heavy, it's bigger than I need, and that's not much to say about it. Like, it's a great knife. It does what it does very well, but for my day-to-day life, and most of my carry is office carry, like around the house. I work from home and go in the office very rarely, but this is just not something I need to swing out in the office, nor do I need to do things around the house with. So it mainly just stays in my collection as a really cool piece. And I may get rid of it to fund other purchases, but for right now, I just enjoy having it. So there's that. Cool. That's the Spydercos and the Benchmates. Let's move on. Okay, next up is going to be the Pinion Knives. Enrique Pina is probably one of my favorite knife designers. I really enjoy what he does with his design language and with the aesthetics of his blades. So I have a few examples of his work here, and let's go through them. So this right here is probably my least carried one of these. This is the Pina Apache, and so this has been the scales have been dyed. They're originally this color. This is not something I did. I bought it this way, but someone dyed them this hunter green or this olive green. Great little knife. Top flipper is easily one of my favorite opening mechanisms, and I think this guy is a wonderful EDC. No slight against it, just the other ones get more pocket time, and this guy may be on the chopping block soon because I have other knives in this arena that do what it does, just in my opinion, better. Next is going to be the Pina Raptor. So this is a very similar knife. This is a top flipping knife, kind of a worn clippy, very aggressive style blade. And one of the unique things about this guy is it's got a hollow grind. I'm not sure you see that. Like the knife has actually got a really sick hollow grind. It's maybe not going to show on this angle, but whereas the other ones are more flat grinds. Like you see, these two are very similar knives. They have little bit different handle shapes, definitely different grinds and different blade shapes, but perform a very similar function for an EDC type of task. The next one is probably my all-time favorite. This thing is a candidate for my pocket every single day, and this is the Pina Caballero, and it's a top flipper only, or front flipper, top flipper, and it is a wonderful little knife. So just FYI, it's around the same size. I can get a full 4-finger grip. It disappears into the pocket very easily, and like this opening mechanism is just so easy for my hands to do, and I get that that knuckle flip. It's not the most practical, but it's fun to fidget with. So this easily one of my favorites in my entire collection, in my pocket 4-5 days a week sometimes. The next one is a very similar design to the Caballero. It's almost like a big brother of it. So you can see similar lines. We still have a top flipper, front flipper mechanism, and a thumb stud on this one. And this is the Pinion Mula. So the Mula is very similar to what's going on with the Caballero, just bigger, different blade shape. Like there are differences, of course, but there's a lot of things that remind me of it. A lot of it has to do with the opening mechanism. So you end up with this front flipper, but you also have the option for the dual thumb studs and the Spidey flick and all that. So Mula, fantastic knife. One of my first Pinas, and I still love it to this day. The next knife is the Pinion Bravo. And so I think this one is the spiritual successor to the Mula. It has a lot of the same things going on. Again, we end up with this front flipping mechanism and thumb studs, just like the Mula. And so, we'll flip it. But we end up with a much different blade shape. And so this blade shape is kind of almost a Warncliffe-y type of thing. It's great for what I need knives for. It's a great draw cut. You can get a lot of hand behind it for push cuts. It's phenomenal, and the micarta is exceptionally well done. I can't tell you how well this feels in the hand. The fact that I have multiple deployment mechanisms on it is just great for fidgeting or being able to deploy it however I choose to. But yeah, it's a great little knife. Pinion has got a phenomenal grasp on modern traditional and design language that correspond to these things, and I look forward to more stuff from him. So these are definitely some of my favorites. Okay, so the next category that I wanted to do is it's hard to find a grouping that fit all this, so I'm just going to call it various high-end production knives. So these are anywhere from like 150 to 300 range, and they're all production knives from various manufacturers. So the first one is the Wee Mote. So this little guy is interesting. It's a wonderful little fifth pocket knife. It is a Ostap Hell design, which I like a lot of his design language, and this belly spoke to me with the blade geometry and the deep stonewash, along with the stonewash titanium with the bronze ano. I don't carry this a whole lot. I just don't have a whole lot of use for an exceptionally tiny knife like this. Like it's a 3-finger knife. Like you're struggling to get that fourth finger on there, but it's a good little guy. Like if I just want to put something in my pocket for a light duty day, I have no problem with this. This will get me through the day. It's thin, it's slicey. I think the one thing that would get me to carry this more is if it was a front flipper or a top flipper. I've just been moving away from actual flippers. The mechanics of it don't feel as good to me, and it's definitely a me thing, not anything wrong with flippers. It's just I prefer thumb studs and top flipping mechanisms these days. But I like this guy a lot. Next one is the Tactile Turn Rockwall. And so this is a wonderful little knife. We got full titanium body, magna cut blade, and a super thin, slicey little guy. So I've had my issues with Tactile, with having to return the knife like 3-4 times now. But finally, it's a working version of it, and I think it's well done. Like, there's no one that can deny the quality of their millwork, and their design language is definitely that modern, traditional, minimalist design, which speaks to me. It has a wonderful little thwack when you open it up. So, like this guy a lot. It does spend time in my pocket. Next one is going to be the Ace Nazca. So, this is a Vox Enzo design, and it is that's the reason why I actually picked it up. I'd never experienced a Vox Enzo giant mouse type knife, and some of their other ones just did not speak to me. This one did. It's the first one they've done with the Axis style lock. It has thumb studs versus a lot of them use big blade hole deployment, and so I like this guy a lot. The only thing I don't particularly care for is the wire clip, but that's just a personal preference. I don't know if this one will stay in my collection very long. I put some content out on it. I like it. I need to give it a little bit more time in the pocket, but As a knife, it's phenomenal. I just don't know if it is, my knife or for me. Next one here is going to be the TRM Neutron 2. So this guy is phenomenal. I can't tell you enough good things about the Neutron and TRM in general. Right now it's wearing its carbon fiber scales. I have some burgundy Merlot scales as well that I really like. And this one, it's always classy. This one just feels like a thin, slicey, classy pocket knife that I'd be happy to have on me at all times. I do carry this one a lot. It is a fun little one, and I enjoy it quite a bit. So next on our list is going to be these two knives here from Quiet Carry. So this first one here is the Quiet Carry Waypoint. And so one of the neat things about Quiet Carry is they are 100% rust proof. So you end up with a titanium handle, Vanex super clean blade. I want to say that the liners are Elmax or something else that is unrustable. And so like these are a lot of times have been meant to be used fishing, diving, high humidity, high salt environments, which is really kind of unique in the EDC world if you need something like that. And so the Quiet Carry Drift, the Quiet Carry Waypoint right here is a very interesting knife. It's good. It does everything I want it to do, but I'm still kind of medium on it. Like all in all, it's very similar. It's a titanium bodied drop point thumb studs. And I like this one better. So this one hasn't been getting pocket time, and it's probably on the chopping block of maybe turning it into fun so they can get something else and experience it. But it's no fault of the knife. I like it a lot. It's just there's other things that I'm currently more into. On the flip side of that, the Quiet Carry Drift here is getting a lot of pocket time. So in essence, it's still titanium thumb studs, drop point, but it's a different form factor, and to me that makes all the difference. So it's got a great little grip. It has a very functional choil for a good choke up. Aesthetically, I like the knurling on the front side. I like the stonewash on it. It's just a more me knife than this one will ever be. And so this one gets a lot of pocket time right now, and I'm really into it. The newest knife in my collection right here is the Vero Mini Synapse. And so this little guy is, I got some pluses and minuses on it. So the biggest minus is the ergos. It just does not fit in my hand well, and it's not a indictment of this particular knife. It's an indictment of this particular knife in my particular hands. This is the best grip I can get, but I'm choking up on the bolster here, whereas I would like to be able to put my fingers down here. It's just not comfortable for me that way. But as far as a light duty EDC, cutting boxes, packages, you're not really realistically gorilla gripping this and going to town on dismembering a deer or something, right? Aesthetically, I love it. It's gorgeous. I like this little back flipper back here. It's very minimalist. It doesn't stick out of the pocket or into the pocket very much, and the deployment hole right here is probably my preferred way to just flick it out. It's a very, very good knife. I still haven't got my final thoughts on this thing yet. I'm still carrying it, giving it some EDC time, but so far I like it. It's not my favorite thing in the collection, but it's definitely a highlight. Last thing in this series is going to be the ProTech Malibu. And so this thing has gotten a lot of hype in the EDC world. It's often hard to get. This particular one has got the black textured handle. You can see like there's a little bit of where it's kind of rubbed off. You can probably see how the camera gets a little bit of glint of light from it. That's one thing I don't like about it is, oh, there we go. It looks better when it's in focus. But it is one of the knives that brought the button lock into the EDC world in such a hot manner in the past 2 years. It's just kind of that knife. And so the reverse Tonto, the swooping up belly, like it's a good knife. I'll be honest with you, a flipper button lock, just not my style. Nothing wrong with it. I like it. It's well done. It's well executed. It's just not the preferred opening and closing mechanisms that I want in a knife. So this doesn't get hardly any pocket time. It's almost like new in box at this point, which again, it'll probably pass on, and I'll get a few other knives out of the deal. But it's a good one. If you're thinking about it and a button lock is your style, there's no reason not to have a Malibu. It's quite the nice knife. All right, we got one more set of knives and we'll wrap up. All right, so for this last category, this is, I guess, what I would call higher end production, or in case of this one over here, like semi-custom. So these are ones that maybe cost a little bit more or a little bit harder to get, and we'll start right here. This is a Sharp by Design Mini Typhoon. Yeah, Mini Typhoon. This, honestly, like, this is how I jumped head first into the world of like higher end EDC stuff. So I had that Elementum that you saw, and like, at that point in my time, I like flippers. I like drop points. I like micarta. I like titanium, and I was like, what's the best thing I can get? And so doing a little research, like, this guy came to my attention, and they're not easy to get, right? You have to find them on the secondary. So I kind of just stalked the secondary market for a while, and eventually I found someone who was moving one of these, and messaged them and was able to get it. So this guy has seen substantial pocket time. Like, you can tell, like, with this pocket clip has been all boogered up from like hitting stuff while when I bump up against tables and whatnot. So phenomenal little blade. Still sees time to time carry. I've moved away from flippers as my preferred method of opening, but if you're going to get a flipper tab, Brian Doe Sharp by Design, you cannot go wrong. This thing is just a work of art, and even though it doesn't get as much pocket time these days, I still love this thing, and it's a reminder of like what I love in the knife making industry. The next one is also a Sharp by Design by Brian and Doe, and this one is the Mini Tempest. And so I went with the one here that has like the blue marbled carbon fiber and drop point. So I like drop point a lot. And so this guy right here, it should see more pocket time than it does, but there's just other things that speak to me more than this. And this guy is honestly a little big for what I want and do every day. Even though it's a Mini Tempest, it's still a substantial blade. And the flipping mechanism, amazing. You can even kind of fuller flick it. I'm not great at it, but it's just everything that is sexy in a production folder. It clicks a lot of the boxes, and I really like it. The next one is the TW Price Dawn. And so this one has kind of been setting the industry on a little bit on fire. Like, it's doing a lot of what other people are doing, but it's also just taking it to another level with its aesthetics and its design language. And just like the Mini Tempest over here, it is a drop point and a flipper, or top or front flipper, but it is a frame lock, and you've got milling along the entire scale here. You've got a chamfer along the edge of the knife. Everything has had an attention to detail to it that is just unparalleled. The pop of color on the pivot, the little lavender pop of color, is amazing. The fact that he puts his branding just so minimally in the fuller is phenomenal. Like, it's not broadcast all over the whole knife. He just lets the design speak for itself, and I love this thing. It is gorgeous. It spends time in my pocket. It spends time on my hands when I'm just sitting on the couch wanting to fidget and flick something. This thing is phenomenal. Next one is a knife maker you may not have heard of, but is doing an amazing job with what they're doing. So this right here is the Varga Designs VBR. So VBR is Varga by Riot, and so this is a production folder that Riot makes, and it is a flipper. It is a compound grind. We have a hollow grind here. We have a flat grind here. We have a swedge on the top. It's just got so much going on as far as what its design language. And the thing that you can't really see in this photo, and you really won't understand until you put one of these in your hand, is how good it feels. Like, it is the most comfortable knife I have ever picked up. It just fills the hand perfectly. It's like, I don't know, if hinderers were comfortable, and I don't know, like that's the best analogy I can give you. Like, if you like the design language of hinderer but want a really comfortable knife and a exceptionally well built knife, seek one of these out. These things are amazing, and I think he's coming out with a new drop of these that have thumb studs, which I'm definitely interested in. But for a flipper, for micarta titanium, there's just nothing better on the market in this size that does what this does. I'm impressed by this thing every time I pick it up. It is a work of art. So that's the Varga VVR. And lastly here, we have a Alembic whippersnapper. So I got this guy at Blade Show. This was my one Blade Show purchase this year. And it is polished carbon fiber. Let's see if I can get you to look at it a little bit closer. Yeah, it's gorgeous in person. Like, the camera may not show how that polish work is coming through, but the bolsters are polished. We got a blue ano on the pivot. We've got a blue ano on the back spacer, and we have a couple of different deployment methods. So you have your hole deployment, you have your top deployment, which can either be a front flipper type of thing or top flipper type of deal. And we have this little Warncliffey blade with a choil. Like, there's so much with the design of this thing I love. I personally wish that I had waited a little while to get a different one of these. I still like this, and I still want this model, but they came out recently with a stonewash bolster and a micarta scale and a stonewash blade, which is so much more me. Like, the high polish stuff, it looks good, but maybe I can show you. Like, I've had this thing on the table just a few seconds, and like, you see how this thing is a fingerprint magnet? Like, it just stays dirty looking. And I much prefer a stonewash finish on pretty much everything I have. That way it's a working finish. It doesn't show usage as much. It doesn't show fingerprints. But this thing is neat. Alembic, everyone's unique. So they do these in a manner where it's the same model, but everyone that they make has a slightly different finish. Like, there may be another one that looks just like this, except this is stonewashed, or the blade is stonewashed, or the ano is different, or the scale is a different thing. So this is the only one that looks just like this. That's why, they're kind of like customs. But really cool knives, really cool people. Enjoyed meeting them at Blade Show. Really like this. I may try to turn this into another one at some point, just because I like the look of stonewash just so much more than that. But yeah, so this has been my knife collection as of late October 2022. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me to the end. Please give me a like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys hanging around and watching this. And 100 subscribers. I never thought I'd get to 10 subscribers, much less 100. So thank you all very much for hanging out with me, and y'all have a great day.